You guys are in for a treat today. I've had a busy few weeks, so lots to share from projects that I've been shooting. But first, some driving practice while I was home, just getting to grips with kind of building my confidence, something which is going to really help me once I'm able to drive, just ticking that box and making work a whole lot more accessible. I was using the old school FS5 for a job, so I got to take it home for a couple of days and play around with it just to make sure I had the right settings. It was very interesting to actually see what it was like to operate compared to the FX6 and the key differences. And I did this crazy video where I put 3 Sony cameras side by side, which I will release when I find the time to put that together. I've got a couple boring purchases and one exciting one. Some screen protectors for my A7IV, just to put on the little LCD on there. I felt really uncomfortable shooting without that. And some sticky Ursa mini mount stickies, but just to up my game and not use electrical tape. But I get 19 a pack and it was about a tenner, so hopefully that'll last me for a while. Side handle, it's a rosette handle which just slides onto the NATO rail, so that's 2 pieces there, but it just about has enough clearance under the HDMI door and HDMI clamp that came with this cage. I just prefer this kind of operation, having a handle which is a little bit higher up, so you're still able to adjust things as needed. You can tilt it out the way, remove it when you don't want it, as opposed to a side handle which kind of comes out here. Charlie's buying this one off of me. I mean, it does everything that I expected it to. You can adjust the angle of it like that, which I guess is its advantage over this one. But for some reason, just having it a little bit higher up and not as far out is nice to me. This kind of like bar bit in the middle comes out from the camera, so the handle comes further out than the one I've got on there now. It just makes the camera really wide, whereas this is kind of in the dead space of where the cables are going to be anyway. I normally have a topic which I like to ramble on about in the background of these vlogs. Today's topic is making work that excites you. This is something I kind of lost track of in the last few months, focusing more on actually getting work and making things happen than the work I was making and what I was interested in doing long term. You'll see on this channel, I just get sidetracked by the technical elements, the kit I'm using, different lighting techniques. I've been so busy teaching myself business skills that I've forgotten what I was actually good at, which is the creative part of it, as well as having the technical skill set. It's about telling stories through good producing and good directing, as well as the camera and lighting work. Anyway, this clip was recorded at about 6 in the morning. I was just about to head off to a shoot where I was doing the opposite of everything I just said in that clip, to be hired as a camera operator. Another early start today, this time on the weekend, so hopefully it's going to be really quiet on the train this morning. Yeah, I've been on my grind. I don't normally work on the weekend, but I'm excited for this one. I really regret bringing a tote bag. I thought it'd make me look like a feminist, but it's just killing my shoulder. The problem is, when I'm traveling with one bag, I try and fit so much into it, I'm left with nothing for my own personal items. But bringing a 14-inch MacBook is also so tough, because I don't want to bring a whole backpack for that. So I really need like a crossbody kind of casual bag, tote bag kind of thing, preferably something with a shoulder strap. We were filming in a place called Snape Maltings in Suffolk, which has an incredible concert hall. I was coming in on basically the last day of a project capturing a group who bring elderly people and babies together to make music. This is the room we were shooting in, very dark, lots of artificial lighting which I couldn't turn off, so I basically did the best job I could running the new A7IV with very few accessories. The guy Dom I was working for, who's making the final film, actually asked for 100 frames a second footage in 1080p, so that's exactly what I did. That's the only way you're able to record such a high frame rate on the A7IV, and on the little LCD screen the footage didn't look half bad, and you can see me here running around grabbing different shots. I quite enjoy shooting at such high frame rates because you just get these short bursts. My main worry is actually not overshooting, but as long as you have reasonably steady hands, then you can get some nice insert shots. That's all that Dom wanted, just reactions and performance shots in the natural light in the space. It was supposed to be reasonably light touch, so I didn't get too in there, just getting what I could from where I was stood. These are some establishing shots I thought I'd get. They weren't strictly required, but I thought, you know, why not get some practice, getting some nice shots which could make it into the final film. I don't know if I'll ever see the final film, but I got those just for safe measure. I haven't really talked about this on the channel before, but if I was going to go into full-time employment, I would love to do some ENG style broadcast stuff where you kind of run around with a mirrorless camera and get footage for broadcasters. So you send it into a location for an hour or however long it might be, and you just got to get the best coverage that you can. In this case, it was like an hour and a half, something like that. I was able to get lots in slow motion and more than enough for the film. But it was great practice on getting some nice coverage and shots that I knew could be used by the editor. It's very different when you're not the one editing. You've got to make sure that your coverage and the way you shoot is really precise. I was a bit disappointed by the 1080p footage out of the A7IV. As you know, the A7IV downsamples from a 7K sensor, so I thought it would have no trouble in 1080p. But you can see just how noisy that image is. It looks fine when you view it in Rec 709 and on someone's website or on their phone, but less than ideal. There are a few situations where I'm shooting in 1080p straight out of camera, but I know if I'm ever asked to do this again, I'm going to shoot in 4K and transcode, just because the sensor performance was less than ideal. It might be because I was expecting something really crispy because of the downsampling. The camera was definitely struggling because it was so dark, but I was shooting on a 1.8 lens. The footage came out almost fuzzy though, way less sharper than the 4K image that you get out of this camera. Either way, I had a great time shooting at Snake Maltings, and I think in terms of like the different angles that I got and the inserts and coverage that I provided for the editor, I'm more than happy with the footage. This is what I was talking about though earlier in this video in terms of my tendencies to obsess over technical elements when the storytelling might be there. I showed my family this clip and they couldn't even see the grain that I was talking about, so maybe I'm just crazy. What I've just added to my A7IV rig is probably one of the most genius things I've ever engineered, and it is not a situation where I'm just adding things to the rig for the sake of it. This is genuinely kind of doing the opposite, actually. So in one of my last shoots, I was struggling with doing kind of shoulder rig type stuff because I couldn't have the camera, well, previously, I couldn't have the camera up on my shoulder because I had to be looking at the monitor like this. So I'd be doing kind of like run and gun, following someone round, talking to the contributor, but they weren't able to make eye contact with me because I was just hidden behind looking at the monitor like this. So adding to my side handle, which I showed earlier in this vlog, what I've done is turn the handle from facing up this way, kind of gripping it like this at this level, which felt really natural then, and just had it pointing almost in the opposite direction. I've then added a kind of mini magic arm and my phone clamp to the end and Sony's monitor and control app. It might seem like a really elaborate setup and you might be wondering why I didn't just kind of extend this monitor somehow, but I have a huge problem with shoulder rig setups because they're so bulky. You've got this massive base plate, you're adding weight to the rig, you have to add loads of things to the camera in between setups, going from like tripod or handheld to a shoulder rig setup. And also with the monitor, this is the main problem. On an FX6, it's kind of easy because you've already got that monitor mount, you can extend that and get the monitor out. But on a smaller mirrorless camera like this, my only option is to get a kind of like NATO extension rail and have it come out this way, and then your camera's really side heavy, and again it's even more complicated rigging. Whereas this is really simple. It's literally just phone mount like this and it sits perfectly under my eye line. I haven't shot anything proper with this, but the way I like to operate is have this hand up here. Then of course this extension piece here is the perfect grip to hold it like this for a second bit of stabilization if we stop to film something, and also the perfect angle for the phone. But I can do this one-handed as well, just about. With Sony's monitor and control app as well, you can change everything from here. I can go to my low base ISO, I can change my f-stop. It's a really functional app, way better than the Sony Creator one that they try and make you download when you buy a Sony camera. I can even do 9:16 crop here. So if we're shooting for social content, I've got that on the monitor and control app so I can frame accordingly. The only thing I don't have that I wish I did was leveling, because that's one of my weaknesses as a camera operator. I'm always doing wonky shots and having to correct it in post, but this is an excellent and simple solution out of things I mostly already had. So this next job kind of came out of nowhere. Someone called Guy reached out to me who runs an Instagram account called the Fat Pony Workshop, where he does truck conversions and has built a pretty significant following with an audience of nearly 500,000 people. This work was a bit of a wake-up call for me. Guy came to me with a brief. He had a project that he wanted to launch. He's given away his truck, the truck that made him his following, and he needed some kind of launch videos, different cut downs for social media, but gave me the kind of freedom to tell it however I wanted. So I definitely put in a lot more creative hours than I usually would. I could tell this was the type of project where the more I put in and showed Guy what I could do, but also in terms of a portfolio piece, can show that I can do the creative stuff and I can do the ideation. The bar is so much higher these days because filmmaking equipment is so much more accessible. Everything looks good. The storytelling is what will make you stand out. Because this project had such potential, Guy having an existing platform and an already incredible craft that he wanted to share, I felt that I could put in the extra hours to plan it and make it happen to allow opportunities like this, whether that's with Guy or someone else, to open up in future. And every job, it feels like it just gets a little bit easier. While the technical skills become second nature, I'm able to be more present and help to relax the contributor. All right, we're about halfway through the shoot. We've been doing some handheld stuff at the desk here, and then we did like more of a formal interview setup. This is Ethel, this is Guy's dog. She's so cute. Anyway, we got some handheld stuff here on the workshop bench just for like the raffle, the truck giveaway competition, just kind of stating the terms and how people can enter. We got the backstory stuff here, and then after lunch we're going to head outside. We're going to get exteriors of the van, some kind of like hero shots of Guy, and then also just showing the different features and what people can win. But yeah, exciting. Really great to shoot in a space like this. It all looks great. And I've been shooting at 2.8 with my ND at the high base ISO of 3200 on my A7IV. Footage on this monitor is looking really clean. Like it's for social, so I'm not too worried, but it's all looking really nice. With a 2.8 lens and high base, we're getting the exposure we need. And I'm just running that little 60 watt light. Obviously it'd be great to have my Amaran F22C here today, but it's fine. Like, it's plenty bright enough in here. This camera is serving me very well so far. In hindsight, this was far too ambitious for what was technically a half day with a generous lunch break, but I love a shoot day where you can be a bit spontaneous and kind of come up with ideas as we go. And look how well this shot turned out using just the 60X with a bit of backlight, warm backlight hitting Guy's face and the jar. I strongly encourage you to go and check out the completed work on Guy's page at the Fat Pony Workshop or on my Instagram as well. All I've had time to do in this video is just throw a few clips in there. But by the time you see this vlog, hopefully the finished films will be out. I know this one was pretty quick turnaround because Guy wants to get the competition off the ground. For me, the main focus was keeping Guy in good spirits. Before the shoot, he said to me that he wasn't that comfortable being on camera. So my primary goal was to get nice, comfortable performances, something which showed the essence of Guy's character and wasn't too flashy. I used the mist filter for this shoot, something that I wish I always had on my lens, but I kind of save it for moments like these where you can get this really dreamy look with the glowing sunlight. All I've done is boost the highlights and drop the shadows, which literally took like 10 seconds, and I've just whacked a Rec 709 LUT on there. Second part of the day was heading outside, getting some shoulder rig style stuff with the rig that I showed earlier in this video, and Sony's monitor and control app. I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous segment, but the only time that the A7IV overheats is when you're using Bluetooth. So I had to use the external fan that I used with the ZV-E1. Come on, over there, come on, over here, come on. Yes, we got the shot. My workaround for this rig is firstly to get a cable to plug my phone in because I have an old iPhone 13. The battery really doesn't last that long. And then also potentially picking up a DJI Raven Eye transmitter. All it does is transmit to phones, but it costs under £100 as opposed to the Hollyland ones where you're spending £200+ on transmitters and receivers, which I just think is a bit overkill for a phone shoulder rig mount. We're doing some filming outside now. He's going to drive the truck down this way, and I'm going to find a nice angle. I don't think we're going to get it first try, if I'm being honest, because I'm going to get him to drive perfectly into shot. But somewhere about here is looking nice. Just post up and see how we go. We might get it first try. I don't know if you can see the little screen. I'm running the little monitor. I was using my phone as like a shoulder rig monitor, like I showed in one of my other vlogs, but the phone battery dies so quick just because I have a really old iPhone 13. It doesn't do everything I need it to. Next time I'm going to bring a USB cable to charge my phone at the same time, which would be ideal, and then I could run that basically indefinitely. This shoot day is running over a lot. If I was a therapist, I would be saying your time is up, but I'm invested in this project. I want this film to be good, so I'm sticking it out. I think we're like nearly an hour over, and we didn't really have a lunch break. I had about 20 minutes at lunch. So I think in future, for a project this ambitious, yes, I had a schedule that we could work to, but inevitably we ran over. All right, we're going for another shot. The very niche Godox accessory arrived when I was in Bristol, which allowed me to move my MI hot shoe to the side of my cage, as the A7IV has its MI hot shoe on top where my top handle is. I had to turn the top handle around to make it fit, but I actually prefer the monitor on that side of the top handle, and you can see it functions just as it would usually, meaning I don't have to set levels on the camera and can use my MI hot shoe as normal. And then of course we have our side handle on the NATO rail, which worked really well in the shoot with Guy, and it comes off on the NATO, as well as being able to be adjusted on the little rosette piece as well. So lots of customizability, and you can see that the whole area of the cage near the HDMI port is nicely organized. There's not much wiggle room for any of my accessories, and other than that wireless transmitter, there's not much more I really want to add to my rig. I'm loving the A7IV and all of its customizable buttons. The winner here is the lockable EV dial, which I've reprogrammed to shutter speed. So when I press the button down, you can see it unlocks my shutter speed, and I'm able to change that as needed. And then when it's pressed back down, I don't accidentally knock it, which is one of the settings that I rarely change. And for me now, coming from the last vlog, which felt like a bit of a slump and just like waiting for things to happen, I feel very lucky to know that I have basically all of the kit that I need to make good work, and I know which type of projects I want to be working on. So the next couple of weeks for me is just going to be pure outreach, trying to make projects happen in the new year. I want to keep this momentum going and keep on getting booked.